Welcome to Conscious Wellness with Lori Ellis. Hi, I'm Lori, your host. This is the show where we dig deep. We rise above the noise, clear the clutter, and find out what really works. The positive, effective, and sustainable ways to create a healthier, happier, and stronger life. And I'm so excited to bring you this episode because I know you'll find value that you can apply today. And if you haven't yet, please click on the subscribe button. Please rate and review. Thank you so much, and I'll see you inside the episode. Hi, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. This is such a fun episode. It's a powerful episode, and I'm so excited to share this with you because I heard this statement, this phrase a couple of weeks ago, and it resonated with me so deeply, and it's something I'm so fascinated with. When people are able to reach a point of decision in their lives and do exactly this, and this is the phrase, leave the line. Leave the line. So what does that mean? It's that point in life where we make a decision that things are going to be different. We make a decision that we want different, we want better, we're going to make a change. That could be in our health, it could be in our relationships, it could be in whatever part of our lives, right? And so leave the line. What does that mean? Doing something that is not what's been done before, not what everybody else is doing, not what in your life has not been working. Now, what's interesting about that is that opens up an entirely new subject of what now is going to be part of your present challenge, which is the brain. The brain is going to then begin to warn you. So here's an example. If you have a new idea, you want to create something, you want to start a business, or you're going to change your life maybe in your fitness or your nutrition, or you want to move to a new place, or whatever it might be, you know that feeling when the idea sparks. You know that feeling of, this is so exciting and I'm dreaming about this, and you start visualizing what it's going to be like and you start thinking about all the possibilities, and then what happens? The brain kicks in. The survival brain. Its job is to try to keep you safe at all costs. And the brain cannot look into the future. It cannot dream. It cannot predict. It can only remind you of what's already been done, and it can only warn you of the danger of the unfamiliar. So it's doing its job, and in a lot of ways that's great, right? It stores information. It's downloading information and experiences all day long, 24/7, and it will bring those back up to us. But it cannot dream with you. And so it can't tell you, yes, this is going to be great. So the brain will warn you. So in that moment of decision, we get to decide to listen to that dream and that possibility. And that's where then the new, the imagined, that's where it happens. Things that have not been done before then become a new reality. Great example. We've all heard of the 4-minute mile. All of the experts and professionals said that it could never be done. No human physiology could run a mile in less than 4 minutes. And then, of course, it happened because somebody left the line. Somebody left that line of that belief system and said, I can do it. And he did it. And now, of course, it's done all the time. Another really great example you know of are the Wright brothers. Everyone told them they could never create flight. They couldn't create an aircraft that could stay in the air. And they tried and tried. And according to the people that criticized them, that didn't believe, that couldn't see outside the line, they didn't believe it could happen. And so they told them that they were failing. And one story I read about was when they had a craft in the air for about a minute and a half, I think it was, something like that. And the critics, the people that didn't believe, they said, look, you failed. It was only in the air a minute and a half. And the Wright brothers said, no, look, it was in the air for a minute and a half. That is an amazing success. That's incredible. We're building on that. So this is the kind of example of leaving the line. And the line is just what's normal, what is known, right? So the unfamiliar can be scary if we're not in that space of belief that what's in our hearts, what's in our vision, our imagination can absolutely be true, that all things are possible to those who believe. So that I believe that phrase, and I don't know for sure if it came from this book, but I think it was in this book. A book is called The Third Door, and it was written by a young man who had expectations in his life, and he decided he wanted to do something different. And he went out and he interviewed all these people that did amazing things and created, something out of their dream and didn't listen to naysayers and all of that. And so he used the analogy of like a nightclub and how there's 3 doors. And the main door that everybody stands in line for is the familiar door. It's the known door. Like if you wanted to get into that specific club, you stood in line and you hoped that somebody would give you permission. Somebody, the bouncer, the owner, whoever, would point to you and say, okay, I give you permission to go in. You get to leave the line and go inside. There's also a second door available only to celebrities or whoever's on the list. But he said, there's a third door. And if you are brave enough to leave the line and find that third door, meaning step into your vision, your dream, your life in a way that maybe hasn't been done before in your family, maybe it isn't done in, where you work around you. Maybe it's a belief that to some people is so big, just so much that they can't wrap their minds around it, but you have that feeling that And so leaving the line, isn't that fascinating? And so I'm really, really fascinated with that point in time in someone's life where they decide to leave the line. They decide to leave what's familiar. They decide to leave what's known in their lives for what it is that they want. And they feel it. And then without knowing all the how, all the steps, but staying very true to that feeling of why, that's how we leave the line. If we give ourselves permission and not have to figure out all the steps of how it's going to happen, but stay in that moment of permission, of leaving the line and having the bravery and the courage to step out into the unknown and the unfamiliar. And then with God's help, with the continued belief that is within you, take that step knowing that the next one will show up and the next one will show up. And there was a time in my life where I did this 25 years ago, and I didn't even really realize at the time. I was just really following a deep feeling and a knowing within me that I knew I wanted a better life. So 25 years ago, if you've listened to my podcast in the first episode, you've heard my story, so I won't retell the whole thing. But basically, I had been dealing with a chronic condition, illness called endometriosis. It's very painful, and it went misdiagnosed, undiagnosed. There were medications that didn't work. Some made it worse. It ended up resulting in 2 major surgeries, 2 years in a row. I was only 33 at the time. This was 25 years ago. I had 2 little kids at home, a family that needed me, and I didn't know how I was going to change it, but I knew waking up in the recovery room after that second surgery. And by the way, that second surgery I knew still had not taken care of the root cause of why my body had been ravaged by this endometriosis, why this was happening. I knew that the root cause had not been taken care of. And I also woke up with an entirely new issue and condition on top of that, which was full menopause at the age of 33. So that was 25 years ago. And that was terrifying because now I had this whole new issue to try to deal with, and I didn't know anything about that. And back then they didn't know really even where to send me or what to do from that point. So I made a decision in that recovery room. This was no longer going to be the way I lived my life. I was going to go back home and heal and recover for a second time in 2 years from a major abdominal surgery. And I was then going to figure out, I was going to do whatever it took, go back to school. And that's exactly what I did. And I sought the kind of education that I wanted and experienced. And, I took a step and the next step appeared. And I had and have continued the most amazing journey to learn about how to help my body heal and get strong. And that's what I did 25 years ago. And I continue on this journey today, which is exactly why I'm here talking to you in this podcast, because that moment of consciousness, that moment of awareness that I'm going to leave this line, I'm not going to continue to go down this road because it has not helped me. And again, God bless all the doctors and the surgeons and the nurses and all these beautiful people that take care of you. But I knew that I needed to go in a different direction to help my body to heal. And so that's what I did. I left the line of what was, maybe going to continue, and I chose a new road, and I helped my body to heal, and I learned how to continue to get strong and step into a place of preventative wellness. And so very exciting. But here's my story that happened. It was probably, what year was it? Maybe 2015, I think it was, or 16. I went to a Tony Robbins event called Unleash the Power Within in Dallas. And it's an incredible event. And unleashing the power within you is stepping into the vision that is yours, the purpose, we use that word a lot, the purpose, the soul's purpose that is yours. And what is, that still small voice in you, or what is that screaming message within you that you can't ignore, that thing you want to do, that business you want to start, or that life you want to live, and it feels far away, or it feels unfamiliar, or it hasn't been done before. And so you're standing in the line hoping someone's going to give you permission, hoping somebody's going to walk up to you with a clipboard and see your name on it and let you in, and so we wait for permission. We wait and we listen to the scarcity, and we listen to the limitations. Okay, so back to the Tony Robbins event. So throughout the event, it's great. We have all these wonderful days of education and experiences and coaching. And the entire time you are watching on the big screen as they are preparing the fire walk. You might have heard about the fire walk. And so at Unleash the Power Within, at the very last night, you do the fire walk. And it's these hot coals that have been burning all week, and you see that happening. And then there's these red hot coals. There were 15 maybe lines, maybe 20, and there were thousands of us there. And so by this time it's dark, and you've been coached all day how to get into a state, into that mindfulness and that presence, to be able to do something that is truly terrifying. It sounds terrifying, and then when you're there, it's really terrifying. And so then you go outside and you stand in a line. You choose a line. Okay, so here's where leave the line comes in. Now let me preface this. Let me go back for a second to say that when I went to this conference, I remember saying to my friend, because I went there with a friend specifically, and I remember saying to her, I want to meet Tony Robbins. I want to be able to shake his hand. And there's thousands of people. So that was a big vision and a dream. And we kind of chuckled about it. And I said, I really want that to happen. And so on the last night, and it didn't happen throughout the entire event. Like I said, thousands of people. I wasn't up in the front row. I wasn't up in that section. We were in a section farther back. So that last night, we're all in these different lines. And he has all of his assistants out there at the front of the line. So when it's your turn to do your walk across these hot coals, I think it's 20 feet or something like that. I could be wrong, but it's quite a long line. And you walk across this, and then at the other end are his assistants that are there helping when you're done. So we all get into these lines, thousands of people. There's all these different lines. It's dark out. You cannot see. You just choose a line, and then you start standing in that line. So we're in this line and we're waiting. And I hear this woman, we're close. We're almost up there to the front of the line. It's almost our turn. So we're so focused on our mindfulness. We're so focused on staying in that state of calm and that state of we can do this. And they teach you exactly how to do that. So all of a sudden I hear this woman wailing, screaming in the line next to me. The lines were quite a ways apart. And I heard her screaming. I couldn't deny it. It hurt my heart to hear her crying. And I said to my friend, I'm going to go try to help her. And so I just felt called to do that. And I left the line. And we were going to do this together, right? So that was my comfort zone. And I left the line because that empathy in me just called me to her. And I went over there and I said, you're going to be fine. It's okay. I'm here with you. I'm going to do this with you. We're doing this together. You're okay. And she said, okay. She calmed down. And then it got to be her turn. I'm just telling her, look me in the eyes. You're fine. You're fine. You can do this. And we get to the front of the line and she freaks out and she screams and she's like, I can't do this. And she takes off and she runs away. And so now I'm in this completely different line. I'm by myself. I don't know where my friend is. I'm not going to go all the way back and try to find her because she was probably already done at that point. So I get up to the front of the line and I just decide, here I am, I'm going to do this. And I stand there and I'm about ready to go and do the fire walk. And I hear this really deep voice because I paused and I felt this giant hand come down on my shoulder. He was to the left of me and this giant hand comes down on my left shoulder. And I can't even do the voice as deep as he did it, but he said, "You've got this. You've got this." And I looked up because he's very, very tall. And it was Tony Robbins. I had no idea he was even going to be helping with any of these lines. We had no clue. And so isn't that a fascinating, we would call that, synchronicity? We would call that, right? I knew I wanted to somehow meet him, shake his hand or something. I didn't get to shake his hand, but even better, right? So he had his hand on my shoulder. He looked down at me. He said, "You can do this." And I just was incredulous looking up at him. And so then I did it. And I didn't even think about really that much. I told my friend after what had happened and processed that moment so many times and just kind of thought of it as like, we say it's a coincidence or whatever. Not at all. When I heard this phrase a couple of weeks ago, have the courage to leave the line and amazing things will happen and you will step out of what is familiar, out of what is ordinary, and you will step into what you're asking for, what you want, what you're dreaming of. Isn't that interesting? So it's such a literal representation of what can happen when we have the courage to leave the line, especially from a place of compassion and wanting to make a positive difference in the world for someone, something. And that's when that why behind our decision to leave the line is so strong that the quote unquote fear that might be there in the human condition doesn't stand up. The why is so strong. 25 years ago, when I decided I was going to change my life, it was because of my family, my kids. I wanted them to have a mom that was full of energy and full of wellness. And I wanted to show them, and I wanted to be there for them. I wanted to spend time with them and be able to run and play and keep up with them, right? And I wanted to make sure that I was keeping my life healthy so that I could be there for them and enjoy life with them and do everything I could for them. And so that was my reason why. So what is that point that you make that decision, that we make that decision to leave the line? What is the line? This is my question to you. What is the line right now that you can give yourself permission? The line that is keeping you stuck, the line that is comfortable, familiar, what I would say, living in a subconscious state and hoping things will change, right? Because nothing changes if we don't change. And if we don't have the courage and we don't take that step to leave what's familiar, we will not experience all of the things that we came here to experience and be able to give in the biggest way that we came here to give, whatever that means to you. So what is the line in your life that you can give yourself permission right now? Because you don't need to wait for somebody to walk down that line with a clipboard and hope that you're on the list. You get to create the list. You get to leave the line. You get to step into that. And we all have that. We can all look back on our lives and see the times that we talked ourselves out of something and we took away the permission. But right now, I encourage you to, whatever that line is that you feel you've been waiting in for so long, right? To do what you wanted to do, give yourself the permission. You can leave the line. You can choose the third door. I really hope I can get to have the author of that book on this podcast. I would love to talk at a deeper level about this. But anyway, I hope that this gave you some inspiration and something that you can take into your life right now and say, yes, this is something I've been wanting to do. So what is it that you want to do? What is the deep why? You can give yourself permission right now. I hope you enjoyed this. I have enjoyed sharing this with you and being here with you. Thank you, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. I'm so happy you were here for this episode of Conscious Wellness. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And if you like this show and you feel you're receiving valuable information and tools that you can apply to your life today, please share this with a friend. We want everyone to feel excited and intentional about their future, and we want you to get up every day feeling empowered to take positive action steps toward better wellness. If you haven't already, please subscribe and please rate and review. We're so grateful. And send us your questions. Let us know what topics you want to learn more about. You can send a message to info@elliswellness.com or the contact form at elliswellness.com, where you can also sign up for the newsletter. Thank you so much. Now go out there and have an amazing day.